Take away the choreography. Take away the stage lights. Take away the fandom noise, the styling, the camera tricks, the screaming crowd. What is left? Just the voice. And that is where this conversation becomes dangerous. Because when everything decorative is stripped away, only a few idols still sound like they were born to carry a song on their own. Not just to sing it, not just to survive it, but to completely own it. The kind of voice that can turn one line into a killing point, one chorus into a signature, one breath into emotion. And when you talk about male Korean idols who belong in that category, three names rise immediately: Baekhyun of EXO, Chen of EXO, and Jungkook of BTS. Baekhyun sings like he knows exactly how to seduce a melody. Chen sings like his voice was built to cut through the sky. Jungkook sings like versatility itself became a pop weapon. 3 stars, 3 vocal identities, 3 fan bases ready to go to war. But this is not a debate about popularity. It is a debate about voice. So when the performance disappears and only the singing remains, who really stands at the top? The problem with debates like this is that people almost always confuse favorite voice with best vocalist. And those are not the same thing, because a voice can be beautiful without being the strongest. A singer can be emotionally moving without being the most technically secure. And an idol can sound incredible on the right song, in the right mood, with the right arrangement. But that still does not automatically make him the best vocalist in the room. That is what makes this ranking so serious. Because Baekhyun, Chen, and Jungkook are not competing from the same vocal identity at all. They are standing at the top through 3 completely different routes. Baekhyun feels like refinement. His strength is not just that he sings well. It is that he understands texture, tension, softness, and control at a level that makes even simple lines sound intentional. He knows how to make a melody feel expensive. Chen feels like force. His voice carries weight in a way that immediately raises the emotional ceiling of a song. He does not just reach notes, he fills them. There is something about his delivery that makes big moments sound earned rather than decorative. And Jungkook feels like adaptability. His voice moves easily across styles, moods, and genres, which is one of the hardest things for any singer to do without losing identity. He can sound polished, intimate, bright, restrained, or explosive, and still sound unmistakably like himself. That is why this is not a simple contest of who can hit the highest note. To judge a best vocalist, we have to look at 4 things. Technique, how stable, controlled, and reliable the voice is. Tone, how recognizable and attractive the vocal color feels. Versatility, how well the singer adapts to different styles and emotional demands. And impact, the hardest thing to measure, but maybe the most important. When the line comes, does it stay with you? Because great vocals are not just heard. They leave a mark. And when those 4 things are placed against Baekhyun, Chen, and Jungkook, the ranking becomes a lot more complicated than fans usually want it to be. If there is one singer in this lineup who makes vocals feel almost luxurious, it is Baekhyun. What makes Baekhyun so dangerous in a conversation like this is that he rarely sounds like he is fighting the song. He sounds like he is inside it, shaping it from the center. That difference matters. Because a lot of strong singers impress by showing the audience how hard a line is. Baekhyun impresses by making the difficulty disappear. He smooths over the edges. He makes control sound natural. And once a singer can do that consistently, the voice starts to feel less like a skill and more like instinct. That is where Baekhyun becomes elite. Because his greatest weapon is not just range or support or the ability to land emotional phrases. It is taste. He knows exactly how much voice to give a line. He knows when to hold back, when to lean into breath, when to sharpen a note, when to make a phrase ache instead of explode. In other words, he does not just sing correctly. He sings with design. And that makes him incredibly difficult to compete with. A singer like Baekhyun can move through R&B, pop, ballad, and more atmospheric material without ever sounding misplaced. His voice is flexible, but it never becomes generic. That is a rare balance. Some vocalists are technically strong but emotionally predictable. Some are expressive but lose precision when the song becomes more demanding. Baekhyun sits in a very dangerous middle ground where technique and sensuality keep feeding each other. He can sound clean without sounding sterile, emotional without sounding messy, controlled without sounding cold. That is why his tone matters so much in this debate. Because Baekhyun's voice is not only good, it is addictive. There is a softness to it, but never weakness. There is a brightness, but never thinness. There is a polish that makes his voice feel immediately premium, as if the melody itself gets more expensive the moment he enters it. And when a singer has that kind of tone, even small moments become memorable. A pre-chorus feels fuller. A run feels intentional. A single sustained note can become the line the listener waits for every time the song returns. But what really elevates Baekhyun is that he understands intimacy. That may sound simple, but it is not. A lot of singers know how to dominate a big climax. Far fewer know how to make the listener lean in. Baekhyun has that ability. He can make a song feel close to the ear, close to the chest, close to the kind of emotion that does not need to shout in order to hit hard. That is one of the reasons he feels so complete as a vocalist. He is not limited to spectacle. He can win quietly, too. And that is where his case becomes extremely strong. Because when people talk about the best vocalist, they often get distracted by obvious power. High notes, belts, dramatic climaxes. Baekhyun can do plenty of that. But his true strength is more sophisticated than that. He makes songs feel elegant. He makes melody feel tactile. He gives the impression that the voice is always under control, always emotionally aware, always exactly where it needs to be. That is not just talent. That is mastery of delivery. And in a lineup this strong, that makes Baekhyun a terrifying benchmark. He is the singer who makes people realize that being a great vocalist is not only about power. Sometimes it is about making the entire song revolve around your touch without ever seeming to force it. If Baekhyun makes vocals feel luxurious, then Chen makes them feel undeniable. What makes Chen so powerful in a debate like this is that his voice does not ask for permission to be heard. It arrives with force, clarity, and a kind of natural authority that immediately changes the emotional size of a song. Some singers create impact through subtle detail. Chen can do detail too, but his real gift is that he makes a melody feel bigger the second he touches it. That is a very rare kind of vocalist. Because vocal power is easy to admire from a distance, but much harder to sustain without becoming harsh, theatrical, or emotionally one-dimensional. Chen avoids that trap because his strength is not just loudness or range, it is weight. His notes do not just go high, they land, they carry pressure, they feel anchored. And that is why his climaxes often hit so hard, not because they are flashy, but because they sound fully supported by conviction. That is where Chen becomes extremely dangerous. When a song needs lift, he gives it lift. When it needs pain, he gives it pain. When it needs that one line that cracks the whole arrangement open, he is often the voice you wait for. And the thing is, Chen does not merely sing dramatic moments well. He justifies them. That is the difference between a good vocalist and a great one. A weaker singer can hit the big note and still make it sound inserted. Chen makes the big note feel like the emotional destination the song was always heading toward. He gives songs architecture. His tone also plays a huge role in that power. There is something inherently resolute about Chen's voice. It has brightness, but not fragility. It has emotion, but not vagueness. It cuts cleanly through production, which is one of the reasons it works so well in big choruses and emotionally charged arrangements. Even when the song becomes dense, his voice keeps its identity. You do not lose him in the mix. He stays central, and that consistency matters. Because one of the hardest things for any vocalist is to remain technically convincing while still sounding human. Chen does that exceptionally well. His singing often feels disciplined, but never robotic. He sounds trained, but not trapped by training. There is enough feeling in the line to keep it alive, and enough control to keep it from collapsing. That balance is exactly why he is so often associated with songs that demand real emotional and technical stamina. What makes his case especially strong in this top three is that Chen represents the kind of vocalist people instinctively trust when the song becomes hard. When the melody climbs, when the arrangement opens up, when the emotional burden gets heavier, he sounds like the singer most naturally built to carry it. That alone gives him enormous authority in a ranking like this. Because if Baekhyun is the vocalist who seduces the song, Chen is the vocalist who conquers it. And once a singer has that kind of command, the argument around best vocalist becomes impossible to treat lightly. If Baekhyun makes vocals feel luxurious and Chen makes them feel undeniable, then Jungkook makes them feel dangerously complete. What makes Jungkook so hard to place in a debate like this is that his power does not come from one obvious vocal trick. He does not rely on the same overt sense of vocal weight that Chen carries, and he does not approach phrasing with the same silky, almost tactile elegance that makes Baekhyun so addictive. Instead, Jungkook's strength is something that often becomes even more valuable in modern music. He can do almost everything without sounding unnatural. And that is a terrifying advantage, because versatility is one of the easiest qualities to underestimate. People often treat it like a bonus, when in reality it is one of the clearest signs of a truly elite vocalist. A singer who can move across genres, emotional tones, production styles, and performance settings without losing identity is not just flexible. He is musically dangerous. Jungkook has that kind of voice. He can sound clean and youthful. He can sound intimate and restrained. He can sound bright, emotional, rhythmic, airy, or urgent. And somehow, it still sounds like him. That is what makes him so effective. Jungkook's voice has a kind of modern polish that translates almost instantly. It is smooth without becoming bland, emotional without becoming messy, technically reliable without ever drawing too much attention to the mechanics. That last part is especially important, because one of Jungkook's greatest strengths is that he makes difficult singing feel incredibly natural. He rarely sounds like he is trying to prove that he is good. He just sounds good. And in pop music, that kind of ease is one of the hardest things to achieve. What also separates Jungkook from many strong idol vocalists is how well he understands flow. Some singers dominate moments. Jungkook dominates movement. He knows how to keep a song alive from line to line. He fits into melodies with unusual smoothness, which is why he often sounds so convincing across different styles. Whether the song leans pop, R&B, softer ballad territory, or more atmospheric material, his voice adapts quickly without sounding like it is borrowing a style that does not belong to him. That adaptability is not accidental. It comes from strong instinct, good control, and a very clear sense of how his voice should sit inside a track. And that gives him enormous power in this conversation. Because being the best vocalist is not only about who sounds biggest in the climax. It is also about who can carry the most kinds of songs convincingly. Jungkook may not attack a high emotional peak with the same dramatic force as Chen, and he may not color a phrase with quite the same vocal sensuality as Baekhyun, but he brings something that neither of them owns in exactly the same way. Total usability without losing star quality. He is the singer who feels at home almost everywhere, and that is why Jungkook belongs firmly in this top three. He represents the modern ideal of a male pop vocalist, versatile, stable, expressive, and polished enough that the voice never feels trapped inside one genre or one emotional mode. He may not be the most specialized singer in this lineup, but specialization is not always the same as superiority. Sometimes the most dangerous voice in the room is the one that can survive any song you give it. So now we come to the most uncomfortable part of this entire conversation. Because once you put Baekhyun, Chen, and Jungkook in the same room, there is no easy answer that makes every fan happy. And maybe that is exactly why this debate never dies. Because all three are elite. All three are proven. All three have the kind of voice that can instantly raise the quality of a song, but they do not dominate for the same reason, and that is what makes the ranking so difficult. This is not a contest between three similar singers. It is a collision between three different philosophies of male idol vocals. With Jungkook, the power is flexibility. He is the vocalist who feels built for the modern era, smooth, adaptive, emotionally readable, and able to move across styles without ever sounding displaced. That is an enormous strength. In a generation where versatility often decides who stays dominant, Jungkook sounds incredibly complete. He can enter almost any kind of song and make it feel natural, and that is why he is so dangerous. But when the question becomes not most versatile or most effective pop vocalist, but best pure vocalist in this lineup, there is still something about the other two that feels more vocally specialized, more singular, and more difficult to replace. With Baekhyun, the power is finesse. He is the vocalist who makes singing feel luxurious, deliberate, and emotionally expensive. He understands phrasing at a level that turns melody into atmosphere. He does not just sing the line, he shapes how the line should be felt. That gives him one of the most seductive vocal identities in male K-pop. There is almost no wasted motion in his delivery. Every phrase sounds placed. Every color sounds chosen. And when a singer reaches that level of taste, the voice becomes more than technique. It becomes artistry. That is why Baekhyun feels so close to number one. In many ways, he is the most elegant singer in this entire ranking. But when all of these strengths are measured against one another, Chen still feels like the hardest voice to deny. Because among these three, he most fully embodies the idea of a vocalist whose singing carries both technical trust and emotional force at the same time. That is the difference that puts him on top. Jungkook may be more versatile across pop structures. Baekhyun may be more refined in tone and phrasing. But Chen brings the kind of vocal authority that makes difficult songs feel conquerable. His notes have weight. His climaxes feel earned. His voice can lift the emotional ceiling of a song without sounding unstable, forced, or decorative. He does not just create moments. He gives songs backbone. And that matters more than people admit. Because when the arrangement opens up, when the melody climbs, when the emotion gets heavier, Chen sounds like the singer most naturally equipped to carry all of it. That kind of reliability at a high emotional and technical level is one of the clearest signs of a top-tier vocalist. He does not just sound impressive. He sounds dependable in the exact places where vocalists are most exposed. What makes this top three so satisfying is that it proves there is more than one way to be exceptional. Jungkook gives us versatility. Baekhyun gives us finesse. Chen gives us power and command. Three different vocal identities. Three different kinds of excellence. But only one voice that, in the end, feels the most impossible to argue against when the conversation turns fully serious. And that is why, for this ranking, Chen stands at the top.